The silence before the fourth room was quiet, too quiet. Not the kind of silence that soothes your soul. This was the kind of silence that feels like it's pressing down on your chest. Ana de Armas sat on the floor of her trailer, legs folded. Beneath her eyes, staring blankly at the makeup mirror across the room, her reflection looked tired, older somehow. Not because of age, but because of something heavier. Something that had been weighing her down for months. The script she had fought for, the one she had poured her entire heart into, had just been pulled. The project was canceled quietly, and the studio didn't even give her a proper explanation. No farewell message, no apology. It was just gone. For years of dreaming, 2 years of preparing, and almost a year of shooting, gone, erased. Buried under studio politics and cold numbers, Ana clenched her hands tightly. She had given everything to this. Even her relationship had suffered. Friends stopped calling. Her phone had been full once. Now it was filled only with reminders and unread messages from people who wanted something. Nobody was really checking in on her anymore. Then there was a soft knock at the door. She didn't answer, not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know how to. She didn't want anyone to see her like this, especially not him. But the knock came again, and then the door creaked open. Slowly, Ana, a familiar voice said gently. Not loud, not commanding, just gentle. It was Keanu. He didn't walk in all the way, just stood there, holding something in his hands. A small envelope. His hair was tied back, his eyes soft but full of something unspoken. Ana looked up, her lips barely moving. I'm not in the mood, Keanu, she said quietly. He stepped inside anyway, closing the door behind him. He didn't speak right away. He didn't rush her. He just sat down across from her on the floor, crossing his legs like a quiet monk. For a moment, neither of them said anything. And in that moment, something started to shift. Because silence shared is different from silence alone, Keanu finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I was going to give this to you years ago, but I didn't. He held up the envelope. Ana blinked, confused. What is it? Keanu looked down at the envelope, like it held a piece of his soul. A letter. Something I wrote the day you signed on to this project. She frowned, unsure whether she wanted to reach for it. Why didn't you give it to me? I took a long breath, because I was afraid it would change everything between us. Ana finally reached out and took it. The paper felt old, worn at the edges. Like it had been carried for a long time, like it had survived storms. She didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she looked at him. Why now? She asked. Keanu's single quote's eyes were still on her. Steady, patient. Because you're about to give up, he said softly. And I've seen that look before in the mirror. Oh, those words hit her like a wave. Suddenly, she wasn't just a broken actress sitting on the floor. She was a human being, seen and understood in a way she didn't expect. She looked down at the envelope again. Her fingers trembled slightly. Do you want me to read it now? She asked. Keanu shook his head. Only if you want to. No pressure. Ana didn't open it. Not yet. But she held it tightly like it was the last rope in. A storm. She looked at him, and for the first time in weeks, her eyes softened. Why are you here, really? She asked. Keanu smiled faintly. 'Cause when I almost gave up, someone sat on a floor with me, too. Ana looked at him long and hard. Who? A stranger, he said. But he gave me something that saved me. I'm not here to fix you. Ana, I just don't want you to feel alone. Those words stayed with her long after Keanu left the trailer. She didn't open the letter that night. But she slept with it on her pillow, and for the first time in a long time, she slept. The unopened letter morning light slipped through the half-closed blinds, casting quiet lines across Ana's face. She opened her eyes slowly, feeling the weight of the letter still resting beside her on the pillow. Untouched, unopened, but strangely comforting. It was like someone had finally reminded her that her pain wasn't invisible. She sat up, stretched, and stared at the envelope again. It was still sealed, still waiting. She reached for it, her fingers hovering just above the flap. But she stopped. Not yet. She didn't know why, but something told her the moment she read it, something inside her would shift. And she wasn't ready for that yet. She tucked it into her journal and left the trailer outside. The set was unusually quiet. Most of the crew had already scattered after the cancellation. It felt like walking through a memory that hadn't accepted it was over. Equipment still covered in tarps. Trailers half emptied. Lights unplugged. Dreams packed away in silence. Anna walked past the empty dressing rooms and found Keanu near the catering truck. He was holding a paper cup of coffee, standing in his signature quiet way, like he belonged nowhere and everywhere at the same time. "Morning," she said softly. Looked up and gave her a small nod. Morning. They stood side by side without saying much. That was something Anna had always appreciated about Keanu. He never forced words, never filled silence just to make it easier. "I didn't open it," she said after a moment. He nodded. "You don't have to, but I will," she added quickly. "I just add yet." Keanu smiled gently, as if he understood more than she could ever say out loud. "Do you regret anything?" Anna asked suddenly. "About your career, your choices, anything?" Keanu thought for a long second, then said a few things. But not the ones people think. Anna waited, hoping he would explain. He looked down at his cup. "I regret the times I didn't speak up, the times I stayed quiet, when I should have said something brave. I regret not fighting harder for the people who believed in me." Anna's eyes burned slightly. She looked away. "Me too," she whispered. "I let them kill this project. I saw it happening. But I didn't fight loud enough." "You were tired," Keanu said softly. "I count on that you'll be too tired to speak." She nodded. A tear escaped before she could stop it. "I think I lost who I was in the middle of it all." Keanu didn't say anything. He just gently handed her his coffee cup, and without thinking, she took a sip. It was still warm. "You're not lost," he said quietly. "You're just bruised." Those words settled deep into her chest. They spent the rest of the morning walking through the abandoned set. Keanu pointed out little things she hadn't noticed before. The way the grip had carved initials into one of the wooden rails. Tiny heart drawn on the underside of her makeup mirror. The notes someone had scribbled on a call sheet and pinned to a board behind. The wardrobe truck, all signs that people had cared. This place mattered, he said, even if no one talks. About it again, Anna stopped in front of one of the fake walls from their last scene together. She touched it gently. "Can I tell you a secret?" she asked. Keanu nodded. "When I first joined this project, I felt like it was the only thing that really saw me. Not as a star, not as a name, just as a human. That's because you gave it your real self," he replied. Anna looked down at her hands. "And now I don't know what's left." Keanu reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper, not the letter, something else. "I wrote something last night," he said, "for you." Anna looked surprised. "Another letter?" Shook his head. "No, just some thoughts." He handed it to her. She unfolded it slowly. It wasn't long. Just a single, scribbled in his quiet, neat handwriting. "When you feel like nothing you gave mattered, remember that someone's breath was steadied by your bravery." She covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to cry. "I don't think you realize," Keanu said softly, "how many people you've kept from giving up, just by showing up, even on your worst days." Anna clutched the paper. "Why are you being so kind to me?" He smiled. "Because someone was kind to me, when I didn't think I deserved it." Later that day, Anna sat alone in her trailer again, the envelope still untouched beside her. But this time, she didn't feel alone. She reached into her bag and pulled out her journal. She opened it, placed Keanu's quote inside, and wrote just 4 words beneath it. "I'm still holding on." That night, she finally opened the letter. What she read would change everything. The letter she finally opened, Anna stared at the letter for a long time before she opened it. The paper was old but carefully folded, like someone had been protecting it for years. She took a deep breath, held it in her chest, and then unfolded. The single sheet inside, the handwriting, was unmistakably Keanu's. Steady, clear, thoughtful. She began to read, "Dear Anna, I don't know when you'll read this. Maybe you never will, but I had to write it anyway. Because some things, if left unsaid, begin to rot inside us. And I didn't want this to become one of those things. You don't know how deeply I admire you. Not for your beauty, not for your fame, but for something quieter, something deeper. I've watched you walk into rooms where you didn't feel welcome and still carry grace in your hands. I've seen you shrink your voice just to make others feel bigger. I've watched you give your whole heart to things that didn't always. Give back. That's rare, Anna. That's rare in this world. And it's brave. Anna paused. Tears were already slipping from the corners of her eyes. She wiped them with the sleeve of her sweater and kept reading. There's a moment I keep remembering. You probably don't even remember it. We were on set late one night. The lights were cold. The crew was tired. And you brought hot chocolate for everyone. No announcement, no spotlight. You just did it. And I remember thinking, this is what love looks like when it has no stage. You've given so much of yourself away in small, quiet ways. And I worry that one day when you look around, you'll wonder if anyone ever saw it. I just want you to know I did. Maybe you'll never need this letter. Maybe you'll become so successful that you'll forget all these cracks and dark corners. But just in case, if you ever find yourself sitting in silence, wondering what any of it meant, I hope this letter finds you. I hope it reminds you that you mattered deeply, bravely, beautifully. Keanu's hand covered her mouth as she let out a quiet sob. It wasn't just the words, it was the timing. The way they felt like a lifeline thrown across the ocean of her doubt. This wasn't just a letter, it was proof. Proof that someone had seen her even when she thought she was invisible. She folded it back slowly, like it was made of something sacred. Then she sat there in silence for a while, her hands still trembling. An hour later, she texted Keanu just 2 words. Thank you. He didn't reply right away. But he didn't need to. Next morning, she showed up at the studio office. The executive assistant looked surprised to see her. I'm not here to argue, Anna said calmly. I just want one thing. Okay. What is it, the footage? Whatever's left of the film we shot? Not asking to release it, she interrupted, just to see it. One last time. There was hesitation, then a call. Then another hour of waiting. But finally, someone came down with a hard drive and handed it to her. This is everything we didn't delete yet. Anna took it with both hands. It felt heavier than it should have, like it held the last year of her life. She didn't go home. Instead, she went straight to Keanu's house. He opened the door, already knowing. I got it, she said. Let's watch it, he said, without hesitation. They sat in his small living room. No lights, just the soft glow of the screen. The first scene came up Anna walking through a crowd, lost her character, unsure of who she was anymore. She watched herself perform with tears in her eyes, not because it was perfect, but because she remembered how real it all had felt. Scene after scene played, quiet ones, loud ones, vulnerable ones, all of them built from her truth, her pain, her hope, and Keanu was there in so many of them. Not just acting, but holding space for her through his eyes, his presence, his stillness. When the final scene ended, they both sat there in silence. Anna finally whispered, "This was more than a film. It was a mirror," Keanu said softly. Anna looked at him. "What do I do now?" Keanu didn't answer right away. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small notebook. "We make something new," he said, "and this time we do it our way." Anna opened the notebook. It was blank, but for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel empty. She felt ready. The idea that refused to diet had been 2 weeks since Anna and Keanu watched the final scene together. 2 weeks of quiet rebuilding, of long walks, small dinners, and conversations that didn't feel like they needed to be recorded or remembered, just felt. Healing had started to grow in places that once felt hollow, but something else was growing. Anna couldn't stop thinking about the footage, about what it meant, about all the pieces of herself she had left inside that project. The canceled film still lived in her bones like unfinished music. And now, something inside her refused to stay quiet. "Keanu," she said one morning, sitting across from him in a small cafe tucked into a quiet corner of Los Feliz. "What if we did something crazy?" He looked up from his coffee, already half smiling. Define crazy. What if we take that footage and turn it into something new, something different, something real? Keanu leaned back in his chair. He didn't say no. He didn't even blink. He just let the idea land. You mean, like a documentary? He asked. No, she said. I mean a story about the story, about what happened behind the scenes, about the heartbreak, the silence, the letter, everything. A film about failure, he said gently. A film about what came after, she replied. About not giving up. Keanu's expression shifted. His eyes narrowed. Not with doubt, but with focus. He tapped his fingers on the table. Slowly, thinking. But we'll need permission, he said. From the studio. No, Anna said, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. We don't. Not if we make it about us. Not if we use what's ours. Keanu raised an eyebrow. We'd be telling a story inside a story. Yes, she said. And this time, we don't need their green light. For the first time in a long time, she saw something spark in him. Not just agreement, but belief. Belief in her, is in them. They started the next day. Anna pulled out her journals. Keanu dug up voice memos from his phone. Old rehearsal videos, behind-the-scenes footage no one ever saw. Phone calls, arguments, laughter, tears, they collected it all, like detectives of their own memories. And through it all, they worked like two souls who had nothing left to lose. Anna would write late into the night, voice-typing drafts with a shaky breath but steady hands. Keanu would sit nearby occasionally, offering a suggestion or gently pointing out a moment that might go deeper. They didn't try to make it perfect, just honest one night. Anna looked up from the laptop and asked, "Do you think anyone will care?" Keanu looked at her, then at the screen glowing between them. "I don't know," he said, "but I think it might save someone. Even if it's just one person." Anna nodded slowly. "Like your letter saved me." Keanu smiled. "Then it's already worth it." They began filming again, not on a soundstage this time, but in kitchens, on sidewalks, in cars, on rooftops. Raw, unscripted. Anna read her journals aloud. Keanu shared memories he had never voiced. They didn't wear makeup, didn't light things perfectly. They just let the truth do the heavy lifting. And the more they filmed, the lighter Anna began to feel. Something was changing in her. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. She no longer felt like someone whose dream had been taken away. Now she felt like someone who had found something deeper than a dream. Purpose. They called the project The Letter I Never Sent. Not just for Keanu's letter, but for all the things people hold inside. All the things they never say. All the love, all the pain. All the pieces that never make it into the spotlight. The idea started as a whisper. But whispers, when held with care, can become songs. One night, as they reviewed footage, Keanu paused a frame where Anna was speaking directly to the camera, tears in her eyes. No script, just truth. "This," he said quietly, "this is the heart." Anna stared at the screen. "Do you think people are ready for something this raw?" Maybe, Keanu said. "Maybe not." He looked at her and added, "But you're ready. That's what matters." And for the first time, Anna believed that too. The first eyes to see Atana stood in front of the old projector, her fingers lightly touching the reel as it rolled. The small screening room was dimly lit, seats half filled with close friends and a few people they deeply trusted. Not executives, not agents. Just human beings who had felt some kind of pain and come out the other side. This was the first time anyone other than Anna or Keanu would see The Letter I Never Sent. Keanu sat beside her in the dark, hands folded in his lap, his silence. Calm but alert, not nervous, not anxious, just present. That's who he was, someone who made silence feel like strength. Instead of fear, Anna looked at him just before the film began and whispered, "No matter what they think, thank you for helping me find my voice again." He smiled softly. "You never lost it. You just forgot how loud it could be." The screen flickered to life. The film began with her voice, low and honest, reading a journal entry. Not acting, not performing, just remembering. "I was ready to quit. Not just the film, not just Hollywood. I was ready to quit myself." The room fell silent, Scene after scene unfolded, raw footage from the canceled movie, spliced with present-day clips of Anna and Keanu sharing what those moments really meant. It wasn't polished, it wasn't glossy, but it was true. And sometimes, truth is the most powerful story of all. There were no fake smiles, no perfect lighting. Just a woman breaking and then quietly choosing not to stay broken. And when Keanu's letter appeared on screen, read in his own voice, wasn't a single dry eye in the room. By the end, no one applauded right away. No one moved. Because sometimes silence is louder than clapping. Then slowly, one by one, the people in the room began to stand, not to cheer but to honor. Anna wiped her eyes and turned to Keanu. They saw it. She whispered. They felt it. He replied. After the screening, someone approached her. It was an old friend, an editor who had once worked with her years ago. That wasn't just a film, the friend said softly. That was a mirror. I saw myself in it. I think a lot of people will. Anna looked down at her shoes, trying to steady her heart. I wasn't sure if anyone would. They will, the friend said. They need it. News of the screening spread faster than they expected. Within days, messages began pouring in from small creators, burned-out actors, single parents, former students, people who had nearly given up on their dreams, their art, their sense of worth. Anna spent hours reading the messages, one by one. Almost every single one of them included some version of the same phrase. Thank you for reminding me, I'm not alone. One message stood out. It was from a nurse who had watched the film alone after her night shift. It read, I was going to leave my job. I felt invisible. But your story reminded me that quiet efforts still matter, that someone is always watching. Even if they don't say it out loud, Anna saved that one in a folder titled Proof. And even though the film didn't go to theaters, didn't win awards, didn't get a giant marketing campaign, it reached people. Not many, but enough. And sometimes, enough is everything. They uploaded the film online for free. No paywall and no ads. Just a quiet video titled The Letter I Never Sent. It was their way of giving something back. Of saying, here, is for the ones who feel like their story doesn't matter. Anna didn't check the views, didn't track the shares. But she noticed something else. People started tagging her in letters. Real letters. Handwritten ones. Letters they had. Written to themselves, to others, to people they lost. To people they still loved. And every time she read one, she whispered, this is what it was for. Keanu found her one evening sitting at the edge of a rooftop, watching the sun disappear into the horizon. He brought 2 mugs of tea and handed her one. You okay? He asked. I'm more than okay, she said. I'm real again. They sat in silence for a while, sipping tea and watching the light fade, you know? Keanu said after a while, you never told me what made you. Open the letter. Anna smiled. Because for the first time, I trusted that something beautiful might come out of the pain. She paused, then added, I trusted you. And in that quiet moment, as the city lights flickered below them, something unspoken passed. Between them, not romance, not expectation, just a kind of deep, quiet respect that didn't need to be named. Something rare, something real. Letters never fatted. Morning was soft with rain. It's not a storm, not a drizzle. Just that gentle kind of rain that makes everything feel cleaner. The sky above Los Angeles was gray, but it didn't feel heavy. For Anna, it felt peaceful. She stood by the window, watching the drops tap against the glass. A mug of coffee in her hands and Keanu's letter folded on the table beside her. It had become something more than paper now. It was her anchor, her reminder, her beginning again. The past few months had changed everything. Not in the way Hollywood usually meant no headlines. No new roles pouring in. No red carpet redemption. But something more powerful. She had found her worth again. Not from applause, not from validation, but from truth, Dawn. And from choosing not to let a closed door define the rest of her life. Keanu walked in quietly, holding a small envelope of his own. What's that? Anna asked. He smiled. It's for you. This time, it's not a letter. She raised an eyebrow. He handed it to her. Inside was a photo, grainy, unfiltered, taken during one of their filming nights. She was reading from her journal. Face was bare, eyes tired but glowing. Behind her, Keanu sat, just watching her speak. Nothing posed, nothing planned. On the back of the photo, he had written just 7 words. This is what healing looked like. Anna smiled, tears forming before she could stop them. We never really know, do we? She whispered. We're getting better. No, Keanu said gently. But sometimes the people around us do. They stood in silence, watching the rain together. Soon after, emails started to come in from small film festivals. Word about the letter I never sent had spread not through press releases or agents, but through word of mouth. Someone saw it, shared it, someone else wrote about it. And suddenly, it wasn't just a small video online, it was being invited into conversations. Into rooms that once closed their doors to stories like this. Anna and Keanu didn't say yes to everything. But they did say yes to a festival in a small town in Spain, the place where Anna grew up. It felt right, felt full circle. The night of the screening, Anna stood on stage with Keanu. The theater was packed, but it didn't scare her this time. It didn't feel like pressure. It felt like a gift. When the film ended, the crowd stood in silence. Again, no clapping. Just stillness. Then, one by one, they began to write letters in the lobby. The organizers had placed a table with pens and paper. People, strangers, families, teenagers, elders, they sat and wrote letters they had never sent Anna read. A few after the event. Most were simple, raw. Some were just one sentence. I forgive you. I miss you. Thank you for loving me when I couldn't love myself. And I kept those letters in a box. Not to own them, but to honor them. Back. In Los Angeles, life didn't magically change. There were still quiet days, still rejection, still moments of doubt. But Anna was different now. She had something stronger than success. She had peace. And one night, as she and Keanu sat watching the city from his rooftop, she said, "Do you think we'll ever forget this?" He shook his head. No, because it wasn't just a moment. It was a turning point. Anna nodded. You saved me, she said softly. No, he replied. You saved yourself. I just handed you the letter. He laughed gently, without words. And for a while they just sat there, to people who had nearly disappeared into their pain, but didn't. 2 people who had chosen to create something honest instead of something perfect. 2 people who understood that sometimes the stories that matter most are the ones you write for yourself. And though the world may never fully know what that letter meant, she did, and that was enough.